morning, good morning, good morning. It is Wednesday, April 8th. It's good to know what day and time it is, or what day and date it is. I'm just going to wait for a couple folks to jump on, and feel free to say hello in the comments. I would love to say hello to you back. And then we're going to get started with our story in a minute. Something funny about me is that I can read like long paragraphs with no issue, but reading storybooks, I yawn all the time. I don't know if you've noticed. I don't know what that's about. I'm not tired, but so if I keep yawning today, that's why. Alrighty, I think we're gonna get started. And hopefully, like I said, feel free to say hi in the chat. I'd love to say hi back. The story I want to share with you today is called The Tree Lady. That's what it looks like. And let's remember who it's by. This is by Joseph Hopkins and illustrated by Jill McElmurray. I'm not too great at pronouncing names, but here we go. Okay. I'll hold us a little closer because the picture is a little small. Hi, Fan, Declan, and Zeke. All right. Catherine Olivia Sessions grew up in the woods of Northern California. She gathered leaves from oaks and elms. She collected needles from pines and redwoods, and she braided them together with flowers to make necklaces and bracelets. It was the 1860s, and girls from Kate's side of town weren't supposed to get their hands dirty, but Kate did. Hi, Naomi and Daniel. Look, here's Kate's hands, her mud hands, from playing in the trees. Kate listened well in school. She learned how to write and count, and stories she read. But best of all, she liked studying wind and rain, muscles and bones, plants and trees, especially trees. Most girls were discouraged from studying science, but not Kate. Here we have all the kids in their classroom. And I think that is Kate at the front raising her hand. Can you see there? And then on this page, oopsie, we have these little descriptions of different trees and plants. That's what she was enjoying studying. Kate felt the trees were her friends. She loved the way they reached toward the sky and how their branches stretched wide to catch the light. Trees seemed to Kate like giant umbrellas that sheltered her and the animals, birds, and plants that lived in the forest. Not everyone feels at home in the woods, but Kate did. I think this is such a cool drawing. Can we see Kate there? She's just hanging out, looking up at the trees. When Kate grew up, she left home to study science at college. She looked at soil and insects through a microscope. She learned how plants made food and how they drank water, and she studied trees from around the world. No woman had ever graduated from the University of California with a degree in science, but in 1881, Kate did. So here's the science that she was learning in the microscope, and here is the picture of her graduating. She's at the very front of that line. Graduation hats and diplomas and robes. After graduation, Kate took a job in Southern California. When her boat docked in San Diego, she saw that her new home was a desert town. Kate never thought she would live in a place with very few trees, but now she did. So there's the desert town. And there's Kate arriving with her bag on the boat. Kate began her job as a teacher. She was also the vice principal of the school, so she had to make sure that everyone followed the rules. Kate missed studying science and was not sure she would stay on the job, but for 2 years she did. So we have some kids over here. Looks like we have some kids arguing. Some other kids that are, we've got this guy who's about to shoot a slingshot at somebody. That's not very nice. And then we have this picture where she's teaching and the kids, but also looks like she's telling them to behave. And there's that little boy pulling a pigtail. It's not very nice. From her school, Kate could see City Park in the hills above town. It was called a park, but it didn't look like one. It was where people grazed cattle and dumped garbage. Most San Diegans didn't think trees could ever grow there, but Kate did. So there's a little girl at the blackboard. And then here is Kate looking out her window at the quote-unquote park. With Kate's love for the woods, she thought San Diego needed trees more than anything else. So she left teaching to become a gardener. She knew she must plant trees that could live in dry soil with lots and lots of sunshine. Her friends worried Kate wouldn't find trees like that, but she did. So there's the trees that she planted, and there's Kate planting. She's watering and tending them, and then this looks like a greenhouse over here. Kate became a tree hunter. She wrote letters to gardeners all over the world and asked them to send her seeds that could grow in the desert. She also traveled south into Mexico to look for trees that liked hot, dry weather and steep hills and canyons. Not everyone knows how to hunt for trees, but Kate did. So here's a picture of all the letters that she sent to all the different places. Let's see some of the places. Uganda, Brazil, Morocco, Algeria, Portugal. And then here's a picture of the different trees that she tried to plant. Don't those look like cool plants? Soon, Kate's trees were planted along streets, around schools, and in small parks and plazas all over town. People bought trees from Kate's nursery and planted them in their yards. From elms and oaks to eucalyptuses and palms, by the turn of the century, young trees from Kate's nursery were growing in every part of San Diego. Most people didn't think a desert town could sustain so many trees, but Kate did. So now we have the city with all these trees among all the buildings. Isn't that neat? Then, in 1909, the city leaders announced that a great fair called the Panama California Exposition was coming to San Diego in 1915. The fair would be held in City Park, which was now called Balboa Park. Kate felt Balboa Park still needed more trees, thousands more, to look beautiful and to shade the visitors that came to the fair. So here's the city leaders who were planning for the exposition, the fair. And then they're pointing to a map where it's going to be held. That was too many trees for Kate to plant by herself, but she knew lots of people could do it together. She asked her friends to bring their friends and come to the park for tree planting parties. Again and again, people volunteered to help. Those volunteers weren't sure they could plant enough trees, but before long, they did. So there's people planting trees on that hill, Look at all those friends. And then here's people bringing the trees in wagons. They were big and heavy. In the years after the fair, Kate was given many awards for her work, and people took to calling her the mother of Balboa Park. She continued gardening and planting trees until her death in 1940. Back then, few could have imagined that San Diego would become the lush, leafy city that it is today. And there's Kate, when she was a little older, still planting. But all along, year after year, Catherine Olivia Sessions did. And there's Kate with her trees. And I forgot to mention this at the beginning, but this page tells you all about it. This is a true story. This is a real woman who studied science and came to a city called San Diego, which is in California. And I planted all these trees. And I had the chance to go to San Diego a couple of years ago, and I got to see that park and walk through it. And the trees are so tall now. You can't even see the tops of them. That's how tall they are. It's so beautiful. So I wanted to share this book with you today because I think that trees are really fun and beautiful. And it's supposed to be really lovely here in Philadelphia today. So I'm hoping that maybe you and your grown-ups can get outside and find a tree. And maybe you can take a picture of its flowers and its leaves and have your grown-ups help you look it up and find out what kind of tree it is and see if those trees are really popular in this area or if they came from somewhere else around the world. I thought that might be fun to go on a tree hunt today and find trees in your neighborhood. I hope that you have a wonderful day. I'll see you guys tomorrow at 9:30 for another story. Have a good one. Love you guys so much. Bye-bye.